Welcome! Today we're going to be happening the Kinoko Nasu Takeuchi Big FGO 10th anniversary interview. We're going to be talking about major spoilers from all the way through the entire story, so do be careful, okay? It will have major spoiler alerts, so before I start, you have been warned. We're going to be talking about Phantasm Moon, which is from Christmas, Double Christmas, into Ordeal Call 4, into the summer event, into the final thoughts on Nasu. We've got more videos and each of them will be segmented, so do not miss out. All right, so without further ado, let us begin. So, Phantasm Moon. One year earlier than anticipated. Who's going to be our Santa this year? So the interviewer specifically asked, 10th year has arrived. Now, how do you all feel? Nasu specifically goes, it says, the feeling is it's been quite long. Right, nagakatta na, right, very long. Kiri no yoi, it says simultaneously, very nice turn, right? Really nice turnaround to able to spend the 10th anniversary, and I am quite happy. In all my honesty, I definitely did not have a vision to how long we could continue this. 正直なところいつまで続けるのか明確なビジョンはなかったので続いちゃったというのが本音ではあります。ユーザーの皆さんの期待に応えるようガラム社に走った10年でもありました。It says, yeah. Mr. Nasu specifically stated, to be perfectly honest, we had zero vision. We did not have a staked vision, right? AKA a clear vision. How long we could continue this. But in all honesty, we were able to continue it, and that's the cold hard facts. Due to it says, yeah, and then it says Nasu specifically says the fact that we were able to answer the user's expectations, we ran this 10-year willy-nilly, not willy-nilly, more like Garamusha. It's a move in Pokemon, right? Where you see it's kind of like not struggle busting it, but more like they were able to quote unquote how do I explain that perfectly? Like crazy, right? Like it's essentially, it wasn't a perfect run. It wasn't in the perfect pace. It was a 10-year of just running, right? 10 years of just running, and it was running all over the place. But we were able to run 10 years. 10年も続けられたのは、それだけ信頼を得て支えられたということも感じています。本当にありがたく誇らしく思っています。So, TLDR, Nasu says here is that it felt very long. The fact that we were able to make a 10th anniversary like this makes me really happy. In all honesty, we didn't have a clear vision of how long we could have kept this up. But the fact is that we were able to continue it. In order to answer the expectations of the user base, we were running this marathon like crazy, right? Like all over the place for about 10 years. And then Takeuchi says, because we were able to continue for 10 years, because of the trust was there for us, and because of the trust was in us, and we were supported by the fan group, we sincerely feel that to our hearts. Truly, I am thankful and prideful of what we have accomplished. Right. So essentially, Takeuchi is saying The reason why we're able to continue this for about 10 years is because we had that much trust. Because we had that much, quote unquote, people trusted us for this long. And due to the fact that they supported us for this long. And he feels that for certain. And he sincerely feels it. And he is also proud that he was able to do this, right? Mr. 2. Not Mr. 2. I don't know why I said Mr. 2. Interviewer. I don't know. Yeah. Interviewer specifically asked, 最大の場所である、野鳥である最小に向けた念ということで、やはりここまで忙しいでしょうか? It says, yeah, you've got the final location, the largest location at final chapter. This is an entire year going to that final chapter. Has it been busier than ever before? So Nasu answers, when it comes to the scenario side of things, we have a lot of things to quote unquote, accomplish. Simultaneously, the proper word would be here is supervise, right? So essentially, when it comes to a lot of the scenario side of things, I have to supervise more than ever. And on the art side of things, it's going to be hell, right? AKA a lot, due to the final chapter. 開発としては、周年に向けた大きな動きがあり、そこに10年が重ねまして、ゲームもリアルイベントもどちらも過去最大に盛り上げたいという思いがあるので、かなり密なスケジュールになっています。So, Nasu gave it a simple answer. It says, when it comes to scenario supervision, very much, right? Very much, very busy. Simultaneously in the art directions and art side of things, also very busy. Takeuchi says, as a development side, the move towards the final chapter was a large decision to do. And on top of this large maneuver, right? On top of this large maneuver for us to walk towards the final chapter, the 10th anniversary overlapped it. Game side and the real event side, we want to hype it up. We want to make it hype it up as best as we can ever done. So essentially, Takeuchi is saying that this 10th anniversary, both game-wise and IRL event-wise, they want to make it the most exciting thing, that they want to hype it up than ever before, right? In the past, blow out the past shenanigans. And so when it comes to scheduling, we are quite, in emergency mode, quite tight, quite precise and quite busy in our scheduling. 10年目の中で印象に残っているストーリーやイベントがあれば教えてください. It says now that we're in the 10th anniversary, right? Please tell us the stories or events that have left a hard impression for you, if you could, please. Excluding what I have supervised, right? Excluding what I have specifically supervised, the surprising part was definitely Dante's event, which I believe it is the Valentine's Day event, is what Nasu is specifically saying. So it was a very surprising factor of, even I said, wow, this person did a really great job making this event. Dante, right? He was supposed to be on the ruler side of things, and he came in as an early character, aka he said Dante was supposed to be utilized in Ordeal Call 4, but he came in early due to the fact of the White Day event, right? And the concept plot of the White Day was that we were going to introduce Dante and show the character's love and how amazing he is without spoiling the ordeal call for was the concept, and we wanted to make that happen, and that's the prompt we asked the writers and the creators to do. If you read the whole thing, and if you read the whole thing and if you enjoy it, it's roughly about an hour and a half worth of movie, topic wise, but it's so beautifully rounded up. Like, it's beautifully wrapped up very nicely. And after the finishing of the event, a lot of the user base really enjoyed no, when it says ruler, they're talking about ordeal call 4. They're talking about 4 ordeal call 4. So it's essentially I'll TLDR this when I'm finished with the entire story. So it says after reading this, a user base liked Dante a lot more. So for the ruler arc, which is ordeal call 4, I believe it was a great stepping stone, in my opinion. So Nasu specifically says that here that he is very surprised that the White Day event, right after the Valentine's Day event, of the Dante's quote unquote early coming as a pretender, it was a surprisingly great event. He was supposed to be in the Ruler's arc, which I'm going to say AKA Ordeal Call 4 from now, because he says it as a Ruler's arc, because Ordeal Call 4 is about rulers. So from here on out, it's going to be Ordeal OC4, Ordeal Call 4. And so he was a early character for Ordeal Call 4, right? And the concept was they wanted to introduce Dante as a character without spoiling Ordeal Call 4. And show characters love and their affection and how great he is. And then he specifically says the entire event roughly around takes about like an hour and a half worth of movie script-ish. But Nasu was surprised that it really just beautifully wrapped up and, you know, had a nice little ending there. And after you read it, I'm glad that the user base, right, enjoyed Dante. And it was a great stepping stone to bring him into the Ordeal Call 4. Takeuchi answers it very simply. He says, I agree. Definitely gave me feelings. Chotto horotto. It means that it made him cry a little bit, right? Just a little tear. So the interviewer specifically says here, Mr. Nasu, you're always giving praise. You also said the same thing last year as well. And Nasu answers, it says CBC, aka Karadea Boys, from here on out, it's going to be called White Day, right? CBC equals White Day. When it comes to White Day events, it's always kind of in a very, like, you know, reckless and impossible task. It's always a quote unquote very reckless or difficult, right? Unreasonable, I think that's the better word, because you can't use any specific maps to tell stories. There is no additional materials, or you can't use specific maps to give story, and you can only use a pickup servant to tell a specific story about the White Day event. And while binding the writers to come up with a story with these tough conscriptions, The fact that we're able to see an artist at work every year makes me feel very emotional and very, what's the word? He's motivated. Guttokimasu, meaning that he feels motivated, he feels energized, he appreciates the art that the artist that gets in charge is able to pull off every time. It says, just because there is a lack of materials and lack of substance that we can provide to them, we do not want the White Day event to be a boring thing. It says, within the constricted and restricted amount of limitations that are provided, to witness such amazing story, right? To be able to see the plot, aka the event, unfold like this, as a quote unquote supervisor, right? As a supervisor writer, or lead writer, right? Supervisor slash lead writer, I am nothing but happy. It says, yeah, whenever it comes to Ordeal Call 4 and anniversary types of events, there's a lot of materials on top of on top of stories. So it's only natural that it gets more exciting, right? And so Nasu is kind of saying that White Day event is kind of those like little bit, it's not super exciting because it's not like lotto level of worth materials. And like not a lot of people go super hard on like clearing the shop left and right during the White Day events. And because White Day event has such a strict restrictions on like what type of character that they have to use, which means that they do have to use the pickup servants. The fact that with all these kind of binds and restrictions set onto them, the fact that the other writers and a lot of storytelling is still be able to be beautifully portrayed, Nasu gets very like excited and happy in the fact that he sees art, right? Artist at work. He always says, like a worker, right? Well, it's artist, right? It's a artist at work. And because we don't want CBC, aka the White Day event, to be boring. And so as a lead writer, he's quite happy that people are able to pull that off. And then kind of explains what are the few reasons why people do ordeal calls, and one of the people do anniversary year events and swimsuit events and lotto events is because you will get materials on top of good story. So it's natural to get interesting. And then Takeuchi specifically goes, speaking of limited amount of resources, able to come up with an idea battle to make it more interesting. I believe, quote unquote, that is the developers' joy, right? Developers' joy, but it's explained as like a bittersweet sour. It means that like it's the hardship, but it's the sweetness of the nectar of the result that comes out of, right? Then speaking of that, speaking of the quote unquote joy and the quote unquote the effort that you put in on these idea battles with a limited amount of resources, Takeuchi mentions the Phantasm Moon event is definitely one of them as well. So Nasu answers, by the way, the Phantasm Moon event, which was the second Christmas event, it was supposed to be plotted this year, 2025, by the way. So essentially, Nasu said, by the way, Phantasm Moon event was supposed to be a 2025 Christmas event. So that means we're missing a Christmas event somewhere, somehow. So the interviewer specifically asked, why did it change its date to 2024 release date? Nasu answers here. It says, if we were to announce the Christmas during the timing of the final chapter, it's too close and it's kind of in the way. 総称と近いタイミング、いや、終章と近いタイミングで開発しても仕方がないですからね。So it's, yeah, Nasu says the timing is too close to the final chapter, so it would have been in the way, right? So last year we just finished Ordeal Call 3 and everything was calmed down, and because it was all calmed down after the Ordeal Call 3, we really didn't have any big main story in the afterwards. And so we came up with the idea. We came up with the idea is because we have no main story, we go for the double Christmas. And while putting our efforts to creating Rohi and Abby to be emotionally touching event, right afterwards, which by the way, that was the first Christmas, right? Right afterwards, we will do a end of the year, end of the year Bing Chillin', right? AKA end of the year, 1 week of just enjoying Phantasm Moon and just kind of lazy off. So yeah, it's essentially in the highlighted line here. It says after the Abby's event, right? The Abby Welfare / Rohi Christmas event is over. They wanted the end of the year event, which lasted about 1 week, which was about Phantasm Moon, which was also a raid. Then Nasu and the others wanted the player base to feel a little bit lazy and enjoy New Year's. And essentially, Takeuchi says, tell you the truth. This project or this event was actually very difficult. Because it was an event comes right after Christmas. And New Year's, we needed this something fluffy or enjoyable to carry us all the way to the actual New Year's Eve. We wanted a player's base to enjoy that. And so we started to throw ideas. And a lot of ideas has been thrown. However, in the final words, in the end, we went with Nasu's idea. And Nasu's idea was, let's ring the bell of the cat, right? The Neko, aka Neko Arco, but it's spelling Neko as a cat. And when that idea came by, a lot of people says that sounds very fun, and we went with this idea. It says, yeah, after all, Nasu specifically dates, right? December 31st. It's going to be played out until December 31st after all. I wanted the player base to ring the quote unquote the bell, right? Ring the New Year's bell, right? Ring the bell on New Year's Eve as much as they could, aka raid. After all, Neko Arc is a soul, right? Neko Arc is the soul of Massly World Desires, right? If you don't know, Neko Arc is essentially Nasu is suggesting that Neko Arc is the soul of the masses, aka Neko Arc is what we want, slash Neko Arc is the world, as it always is and should be. So the interviewer specifically says, Mr. Nasu, I felt Mr. Nasu, you once said you once said multiple times before that you wanted everybody to re-experience the final singularity chapter, aka chapter 1, right? Chapter 1, final singularity chapter, one more time. So while I was playing the raid, I was thinking to myself, is this event what he was talking about? And I was laughing myself out loud while farming the raid. Right, so essentially the interviewer is saying, Mr. Nasu, you mentioned a lot that you wanted one more experience of the final, aka Temple of Time raid. And so whenever I was doing the raid, I was thinking, this must be it, and I was laughing while I was farming. So Nasu specifically says, to be honest with you, it was unexpected for myself as well to ring the bell, aka to beat Neko Arc that much. It was so fun. Perhaps it's because of the BGM's power. And I believe I believe it must be the work of the monstrous acting, right, aka voice acting and animation acting of Neko, both Hasegawa and Ikumi, which both explains that both Neko Arc and Phantasm Moon, right, the quote-unquote the small cat and the large cat, which is the Arcuid, right, Phantasm Moon Arcuid. And so Nasu's saying, it says, it was very unexpected, right, for to beat the crap out of Neko Arc to be so exciting. It's perhaps because of the power of the music. And because of the acting of both the Neko Arc's voice actor and Phantasm Moon's voice acting as well. 1年早く出したというお話がありましたが、ということは、京野さんとは、so it says, you specifically has stated, right, the interviewer has asked the question. You have specifically stated that you've released this Christmas 1 year earlier than before. Does that mean, do we have a Christmas event this year? Nasu answers it directly. No. There will be no Christmas event this year. There will be no Christmas event before the final chapter. That is why we had the double Christmas event. So confirm chat, 2025 does not have a Christmas event. Obviously, wanted final chapter, and so we are focusing on final chapter. As Nasu have stated, they didn't want to throw Christmas before final chapter because it would have been redundant. So they did a double Christmas one year. The interviewer now goes, speaking of Phantasm Moon, the second ascension of Phantasm Moon, what was the reasoning of her becoming a VTuber? Can you explain us that? It says, we decided on creating a space Phantasm Moon. And that was our decision. We were going to make Phantasm Moon that was space. But we really never had the idea or thought process or even imagined of what was Arcuid or Arc, right? What was Arcuid, Arc, alien, right? Alien form / space form of Arc. And so I thought to myself, why don't she think of herself? Why don't I think of myself as an alien and sell myself as being an alien being? And why don't I just become a VTuber on top of it? That is the decision we went for. Takenashi-san, yo, fucking. Takenashi-san によるアンソロジー漫画 Take Moon. Okay. So the reason why we came up with the VTuber idea is because I remember it was Mr. Takenashi, Takenashi's idea that I took from memory and implemented it. So interviewer asked essentially why VTuber in the Phantasm Moon, aka Pretender Arcuid, Sailor Moon style, Ascension 2. Why is she a VTuber? Nasu answers, whenever we try to came up with a space Phantasm Moon, we really had no idea. So we come to the conclusion that she was going to think herself that she's an alien. And as an alien, she's going to be a VTuber and sell herself as such. And that's kind of went with the conclusion. The VTuber idea definitely came from Takenashi. And if you don't know who Mr. Takenashi is, this person is literally in charge back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, created like Fake Carnival, right? And other joke anthology of Tsukihimes and Melty Bloods. And one of the ideas that was created was Sailor Moon Arcuid, aka Phantasm Moon. So Nasu says the idea was definitely because of this guy's idea back in the day, came into my memory, and we utilized VTuber aspects with that.
第2サイリーの姿は開始ですし、配信中のコメントも面白かったですね。
So it says season 2, not season 2. Ascension, the interviewer asked, Ascension 2 looked very cute. And simultaneously, during her live streams, right, during the event, the comment section were also quite hilarious. And so those comment section, Nasu answers, in this comment sections, it's definitely a lot of the servants that witnessed the live stream and gave advice as much as they wanted. I've asked the writer group, right, aka the writers group and the writers gang, right, essentially the writer section. Like, I asked a lot of people that if you want to comment and have that comment be on the comment section, let me know. And we had, quote unquote, a list of it.
Uh, 実際にイブバース時空のアルクで存在しないのでしょうか。シエルに対抗したアルクが私もスペースになるというコンセプト。だから、最初の設定ではフォーレナーとしてやってくる予定でした。そこでデザインが2、3回転して最終的にはプリテンダーになりました。つまりスペースファンタムムーンはいません。スペースアーキタイプアースはいない。
So, interestingly enough, right? By the way, in the universe world, right, the quote-unquote space universe world, does space Arcuid exist? AKA, does Arcuid in the universe timeline exist? Nasu specifically answered, the concept was supposed to be at first to fight against CL, and Arcuid saying, I want to be space if she can be space. And so at the very first, she was supposed to be a foreigner class. But design changes of 2 or 3 times occurred. And in the very last decision, we made her into a pretender. Meaning that there is no space Phantasm Moon. And then the interviewer asks, what about space archetype Earth? And then Nasu answers, no. It says, yeah, don't exist. So funny little questions with a one common answer. Very cool. Inspired by Sailor Moon when Nasu versus the perfect serviceable magical girl story. Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like Ilya and other shenanigans? I mean, like, it was back in the day when Sailor Moon was pretty lit. We're talking about like 15 plus 20 years ago. Okay, this was before Ilya. like was being a magical girl, if I remember correctly. Like this is before Type Moon got her Ilia series. But don't get it also twisted. That idea was also during, you know, Fate Stay Night, Phantasm Carnival, and other anthologies as a joke as well. So it was kind of there too, but it was also inspired by Sailor Moon as well. If you look at Art Space Arcuid, right, aka Phantasm Moon, the animation, the changing animation style is 100% Sailor Moon. And on top of that, the way she say things is also Sailor Moon-ish. But I wouldn't be understandable to be like, hey, is that part of Ilia, Magical Girl Ilia? And yes, it could be. But that concludes part 1 of quote-unquote answering Mr. 2 and I always say Mr. 2. It's Nasu and Takeuchi's comment section. We're going to be talking about the Lilith versus MASH rivalry experience and how it was started in the next video. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.